so.
Okay, well, I mean, you know.
But, yeah, then it just started being used.
Right. I mean, yeah, and then people's thinking gets frozen. You know, they can't figure out where else it could come from. And it also seems ridiculous to ask people for it if...
Because they say, well, you've got all this money in the bank.
Right.
Then why do I need
That's
Right.
what I said. That's
But that's, okay, now here's...
And I've heard that in other churches.
All right, well, here you go.
When you need it, I'll give it.
Here's what's gonna protect you against that, if you follow my advice. If the endowment ends up being for the preservation of the buildings, how much do you need in the endowment? Do you know what the replacement value of the plant is and the rectory? Insurance policy would have a number in it. But it's going to be, let's say it's $3 million, which is not, right? I mean, let's just, you know, you should be setting aside 2.5% of the replacement value every year so that you can keep up with maintenance. Okay? 2.5% of $3 million is
10% of $3 million is what? That's how I usually break it down.
you get 25 per million, so 75.
So we need to be setting aside
$75,000
a year.
See, that would allow you to build up the money so that you can pay for a roof
Right.
when you need to.
Right.
Pay for the boiler when it wears out. You don't have to go to people for the just ongoing maintenance of the buildings. Okay, well that means that you need, if you do a 4% drawdown, you basically need $600,000 per million of value. So you need $2.4 million in your building endowment to fully fund your deferred maintenance. So you're going to be, and because that's what your endowment is going to be used for, you can say, no, the endowment preserves these buildings. That's what it does. We don't do it. We don't use it. We don't use it for anything else. And we don't have enough the way it is. Once you get over $2.5 million, you can revisit the question. But that way, see, if that had been in place, not just that it was limited to the buildings, but also that you were limiting the drawdowns.
Right.
If we have $1.2 million, we cannot take out more than $50,000 a year. That's what we have available. You know, if we need something bigger than that, we can borrow money and pay it back out of the drawdown. That's a cheaper way of doing it than spending principal. Because when you spend principal, you're not only spending those dollars, you're spending all the dollars those dollars would ever earn in perpetuity.
Right.
But that's why the most expensive way is to spend principal. The less expensive way is to borrow and pay it out of the drawdown. The cheapest way for the institution to do capital improvements is to have capital. Now, let me say a word about the fees. In your proposal, there are numbers. Discernment depends on how much I work. The feasibility study and the campaign are set rates. But when I saw the proposal, when Louise sent it to me, I'm like, I think we operate on a sliding scale that depends on the size of the campaign. I really think that these fees are based on a campaign that's bigger than yours is going to be. I don't think our fees should come to more, I mean, they're based on the work that we do, but I don't think that in general they should come to more than 10% of what you raise. So, especially when we get to the feasibility study, and if you go forward in discernment, that fee isn't going to change. If you go forward in discernment, when we get to the feasibility study contract, we can talk about how we can reconfigure the services and stuff like that so that you're at a lower rate. I mean, I think that's
And that 10% is built into your goal, right?
Well, you can certainly make the fees be part of the capital campaign.
Yeah, so
A lot of
something that showed management fees or management.
most of
oversight or
those
something.
tentative case statements included the cost of the campaign in the campaign. Some parishes pay for it outside with other resources, but most parishes put it in the campaign. But I don't want you to get freaked
In a
out by it.
parish our size, okay?
Yeah.
And you go into the asking phase.
Right.
And you're talking about training of volunteers.
Yeah.
How many volunteers are you talking about?
Well, it depends on how many not pledgers but contributors would people be calling on, because this is set up like an every member canvas.
So it would be maybe each person would call on 3 people, or
Or 4. So you need 20% of the number. So if you 60 people maybe, 15 calling,
yeah, I think so.
or 12.
I think so. We have.
You have your pledges, and then you have your known.
But there are
other-
givers,
We have our known givers.
And what
And then we have,
generally what happens is that some of the people that do the advanced gift calls have such a good time that they're perfectly happy to do the conversations are not terrible. We'll talk about how you do that, but it's based on not on whining or begging or something like that, but based on asking the person you're calling on to share why Christ Church is important to them. That's the basis on which these gifts are made. So it's not, and there shouldn't be any new information in this call. By the time we've done discernment, they've seen it in the feasibility study. There's no surprises. There's nothing new here. So it's not really where I have to tell you something. It's a conversation where we connect around our feelings to Christ Church, and then the caller invites that person to join them, because of course all the callers have made pledges, in supporting something important to them both.
But
And-
we have to go beyond those who were sitting in the pews.
Well, you go to the people that are contributors of record,
Right.
whether they're pledgers or contribute without pledge or whatever.
Right. But I mean, we have a lot of people who show up a couple of times a year,
But they give something,
but they give
Right.
something.
and you know what it is.
Right.
Yeah, those people
And-
are included.
And is the asking that you're talking about when you're doing this training based upon what they've given in the past, or do?
Yes, it's based on either what they indicate on the feasibility study questionnaire
Mhm.
or their history of annual giving.
So that information is provided to us through your
The-
survey?
No, we don't have
Okay, no,
your
okay.
contributors.
Okay,
No, you provide it to me.
okay.
Along with, sometimes it's just one other person that I meet with, sometimes it's 2, but we go through the list and we evaluate, we could call it, each person,
Okay.
based either on what they put on the survey or what their annual giving history is, or other considerations, let's say.
How many years history do you usually go through?
I just, we'd be doing this in 2017. Well, we might be doing it in 2017. So it'd be helpful to have current pledge and maybe the previous year.
I just wanted to know how far back.
Yeah, no,
we can
not.
certainly go back.
Oh,
We don't need to go back, because it's also based, what people are going to give is kind of based on people's current level of commitment, not
Yeah.
what they felt 5 years ago.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I noticed that in most of
Right,
the ones that went around on this Giving Essential chart,
right.
you have a monthly over 3 years figure, which
Right.
is how we
did it
ran
last
the
Right,
last
that's how they're
capital
normally done, a
campaign.
pay-in, 3-year pay-in.
What has your experience been insofar as years 2 and 3? Do those pledges get fulfilled?
Well, some people end up giving more, and there is some attrition. But also, you
Sort of
want
balances
to, but you
out.
also want to involve, during the pay-in period, you want to involve new people in the capital campaign. And you want to monitor the people indicate on the pledge card how much their pledge is, over what period of time they're giving it, and how often they plan to give. And so you need to monitor how people are doing and figure out a tactful, pastoral
Reminder.
way of dealing with people who are behind. Yeah, I mean, but I think you did that before, and I think people kind of expect it. There's nothing. This is not rocket science. I mean,
But we're gonna.
my brother's a brain surgeon. This isn't brain surgery.
But we would be tailoring our messages potentially to the audience that we're targeting.
Yeah.
Naturally, those who are here that we see on a regular basis on Sundays in the pews, we have a message to that bunch. But then when we're talking about the ones that are all the way out
and
there,
Easter, then we have a tailored
and then we
message
have
to
those
them.
who are not
And then the
known
vicarious.
givers to us, but
Yeah.
maybe outside who maybe
Right.
Have a
who
warm,
get touched
fuzzy
by
feeling.
Send
North
another-
Babylon or our music program that we have, whatever it may be, that may be a different phone call or different outreach to than,
Right.
hey,
You'd invite them
because
in.
we don't know their pattern.
Right.
They may have no pattern.
You don't. You.
Or we may find somebody who has
Just
the
never
want
asked.
and the desire to
Never
give.
asked.
Well, if you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people have contributed to the Nourish Babylon program.
And also
they
look
should-
at
they
those
should
who have
certainly
given
be approached.
recently. Like
But I'm not.
you.
I don't know if
Yeah.
we have a basis on which to ask them for a number.
Yeah.
But it works better if you do, because as I say,
Mhm.
now, but you want to make you don't want to lowball it,
Right.
because people
Right.
will do what you ask.
Right. Right.
Well,
Right.
we are starting an annual campaign with Nourish Babylon, so we will have some kind of tracking.
Right, there you go.
So, you said there will be training.
Yeah.
Because
I'll make you
I
feel
think
good
they-
about it.
Yeah,
You'll feel
because
comfortable.
because I'm wondering how would you reach out to people who only show up in church twice a year and without.
Well, if they-
because if you're
If they contribute, they consider themselves members.
Right.
You will have
But-
included them. You will have tried to get them to participate in the discernment conversations. You will have sent them a survey for the feasibility
Okay.
study. So,
before you actually call them.
right.
Okay.
They'll be, they'll be as involved as they want to be, and if they're not involved, it's only because they've chosen not to be in the first two phases, not
Okay.
because. Now, of course, the other thing is when you get to the solicitation, there are always a group of, always some people would say, "I'm not going to contribute," and some people have a principal objection to capital campaigns, or I don't know what. Anyway, a few in almost every parish, there's a surprise or two about somebody who says, "I don't want to contribute." Has nothing to do with their capacity.
Mhm.
It, some other thing. So that's fine. Giving is not required.
But just because there may be one or two people like that, that shouldn't stop us from.
Right. Right. And right, you are doing an annual giving program for Nourish Babylon, so there will be a history. Right. No, it's always better to put some number next to it. That's a reasonable. That's a perhaps a bit of a challenge, but a reasonable number. Because actually, the thing is, if you ask somebody for less than they might even, not only that they could give, but then they might have been thinking of giving, you're actually dissing them.
Yeah.
This actually happened to me tonight. I was selling something, and I was just about ready to say, just come and take it. Just take it. Offer me something, what you think it's worth. And he threw me a number, which threw me off completely because I was just happy if he would just take it out.